The story begins with a scene of a luxurious meal being expertly prepared. An elderly chef walks through a massive kitchen, approving various delicious dishes. The scene quickly shifts to a young man named Goring, who awakens in a concrete prison cell. He is greeted by an older man named Trimagasi. Trimagasi tells him that this is level 48, and they are in a place called the Vertical Self-Management Center, also known as the Pit. There's nothing but a bed, a sink, and a hole in the middle of the floor. The prison has hundreds of floors like theirs, each with 2 prisoners using assigned names. Every day, food is lowered on a platform through the hole, giving prisoners 2 minutes to eat as much as they can before it descends to the next level. The lower your floor, the less food there is. At the end of each month, prisoners are shuffled to different floors. When Goring first sees the platform, he decides not to eat because he isn't hungry, preferring to leave food for those below. Trimagasi, after eating animalistic hunger, spits on the table, knowing those above likely do the same. Goring finds a perfectly intact apple and keeps it for later. After the platform leaves, the cell starts to heat up rapidly. Trimagasi explains that keeping food is forbidden, and the punishment is burning or freezing to death. Goring throws the apple down the hole, and the temperature returns to normal. The memory of his interview before entering the pit haunts Goring. He had to sign a paper agreeing not to leave until the end of his term. Each prisoner is allowed to bring 1 item. Goring chose a book named Don Quixote, a Spanish epic novel. He volunteered for 6 months in the pit in exchange for an accredited diploma. The next day, Goring again refuses to eat when the platform arrives, frustrating Trimagasi, who believes floor 48 is wasted on him. Curious, Goring asks about Trimagasi's story. Trimagasi recounts how he bought a knife, the Samurai Max, from a TV ad, only to see a newer, better version, the Samurai Plus, advertised shortly after. Enraged, he threw his TV out the window, accidentally killing a passerby. Given a choice between a psychiatric hospital and the pit, he chose the pit. Trimagasi mentions the lowest level he's been on is 132, where no food reaches, yet he managed to survive. Goring suggests convincing the higher levels to ration food, but Trimagasi dismisses it as pointless. Determined, Goring tries communicating with those below, only for Trimagasi to urinate on them, stating they'd repay the favor if he ever ended up below them. Trimagasi reveals he brought the Samurai Plus knife with him. Initially, Goring resists eating but eventually succumbs to hunger. One day, a dead body plummets through the hole. Unfazed, Trimagasi explains it's common among those above. Goring suspects Trimagasi of killing and eating his previous cellmate on the lower levels. Trimagasi denies this, claiming his cellmate completed his term and was released, but admits they survived by cannibalizing corpses that fell from above. A woman named Miharu descends on the platform, searching for her child supposedly held somewhere in the pit. Trimagasi explains she kills her cellmate each month to increase her chances of being paired with her child. The body they saw earlier was likely her cellmate. When Miharu reaches level 49, prisoners there try to take advantage of her. Goring yells at them to stop, but Miharu swiftly kills them and continues her descent. As the month ends, Trimagasi tells Goring he likes him, but doubts his survival in the pit. He explains that the room will be filled with gas, putting them to sleep, and when they wake up, they'll be in a different cell. This is Trimagasi's second to last month in the pit, and he believes he deserves a degree for his time spent there. When Goring wakes up, he finds himself tied to his bed on floor 171, with Trimagasi standing over him. Trimagasi explains he bound Goring because he's younger and stronger, so he has to protect himself. Screams from other prisoners echo through the shaft as they discover their new levels, and bodies occasionally fall through the hole, victims of despair. When the platform arrives, there's not even a crumb left. After 8 days of starvation, Trimagasi announces it's time for him to get some food. Ignoring Goring's desperate pleas, Trimagasi uses his knife to slice a piece of flesh from Goring's thigh. Before he can eat it, the platform arrives with Miharu on it. Remembering Goring's concern for her, Miharu attacks Trimagasi with his own knife, freeing Goring and handing him the weapon to finish Trimagasi off. Goring falls unconscious afterward. He awakens to find himself bandaged with a piece of bedsheet. Miharu has bandaged his leg and is now eating Trimagasi. Hesitantly, Goring accepts some of the meat she offers and some water before she leaves on the platform without a word. Days pass, and as Trimagasi's body begins to rot, Goring is forced to eat worms to survive. He starts hallucinating, haunted by Trimagasi's ghost who mocks him for his actions. At the end of the month, gas fills the cell and Goring starts to see dreams of being with Miharu. When he wakes up, he's being licked by a dog. To his shock, his new cellmate is Imagwiri, the woman who interviewed him before he entered the pit. The dog, named Rameses the Sound, is her chosen item. They are now on level 33. Goring is surprised when Imagwiri calls him by his name. Recognizing her, Goring recalls her firm demeanor during the interview, when she informed him he couldn't smoke in the pit and ominously asked about his favorite food, which would be added to the menu. Goring had chosen escargot à la bourguignon, confused by the question at the time. In the present, Imagiri explains she volunteered to enter the pit just like Goring did, and that she didn't know people died there. Once an administrator of the pit, Imagiri reveals there are 200 levels as she knows, and asserts that if everyone ate only what they needed, the food would reach the bottom. She believes the administration hopes the prisoners will spontaneously cooperate for the greater good, using this as a model for society outside. Goring points out that there isn't enough food for all the people here, but Imagwiri insists that the food would be sufficient if everyone only ate what they needed. Goring finds the idea ridiculous. He wonders if change could be achieved by the death of a child. But Imagwiri is sure that company policy doesn't allow under 16s in the pit. When the platform brings them food, Imagwiri eats only what she needs, and after feeding her dog, she begins preparing 2 rations of food. Once the platform reaches the lower level, Imagwiri tries to reason with the prisoners, telling them to eat the rations she prepared and make 2 more for the next level, passing on the message. They ignore her, and Goring points out that the administration doesn't actually want solidarity to happen. Imagwiri is frustrated by Goring's cynicism, but she continues trying to ration the food every day despite being ignored by the lower levels. 2 weeks later, Goring finally gets tired of all her yelling and threatens the people below, saying if they don't follow Imagwiri's instructions, he'll relieve himself on the food every day, and they'll have to eat poop. The threat works, and the prisoners start passing the message to the lower levels. One day, the platform comes down with an unconscious Miharu on it. Goring and Imagwiri put her on the bed and take care of her while the dog steals some food. Once the platform leaves, the cell begins feeling extremely cold, and Goring has to chase the dog to take back the food he stole before they're punished for breaking the rules. In the evening, Goring leaves the bed to Miharu and sleeps on the floor. He wakes up to find Miharu and Imagiri fighting. Miharu has killed the dog. The next day, Miharu leaves on the platform. Goring tells Imagwiri about Miharu's search for her child, but Imagwiri explains that Miharu came alone 10 months ago. She was an actress with no family who volunteered to come, just like Goring. Imagwiri admits she sent people down here without knowing how bad it was and has been fighting cancer for 3 years. When she discovered her diagnosis was terminal, she volunteered to come because she thought she could make a difference, but now she feels hopeless. On their last day on floor 33, Goring urges Imagwiri to eat something because they may not have food tomorrow, but Imagwiri is too depressed to leave the bed. The next morning, Goring wakes up to find himself on floor 202, revealing there are more levels than Imagwiri knew about. The revelation is too much for Imagwiri, and she uses her bedsheets to end her life. Trimagasi's hallucination appears again, wondering if Goring will eat his new friend. This time, he's joined by Imagwiri and her dog who insist he should eat her body. Goring tries to ignore their constant rambling and keeps himself busy by eating pages of his book and using a plate shard to mark the days on the wall. Eventually, the hunger becomes too much, and Goring finally begins feeding on Imagwiri while Trimagasi's hallucination guides him. Sometime later, the next shuffle comes, and Goring is relieved to find himself on floor 6. He dreams that Miharu, who appears in his cell, comes after him with a knife, but he wakes up to discover his actual new cellmate is Baharat, who chose to bring a rope. Baharat is very excited because he thinks he can climb all the way to the top from here. He asks the people on level 5 for help. The couple above teases him before accepting to grab the rope, but as Baharat starts climbing, the other prisoner lowers her pants and humiliates Baharat. Shocked and disgusted, Baharat lets go of the rope and falls, but Goring catches him just in time. Unfortunately, the rope is lost in the hole. When the platform comes, they have to eat, while listening to the prisoners on level 5 get frisky. As time passes, the hallucinations of Trimagasi and Imagwiri reappear, adding to Goring's mental torment. Trimagasi appears to Goring in a vision, congratulating him on having only 1 month left. Inspired by this, Goring thinks of a plan and asks Baharat for help. They decide to ride the platform down with makeshift weapons and ensure people ration the food so everyone can eat. Goring did some calculations while on floor 202 and estimates there are around 250 levels, which he thinks is manageable. Bharat agrees. The next day, they break a bed to use its metal pieces as weapons. They jump on the platform and descend to level 7, where Goring insists they shouldn't let the prisoners take any food. These people ate yesterday and will eat tomorrow. So they decide to start handing out food after level 50, where people struggle more. Bharat hesitates because these prisoners are his friends who helped him climb before, but when one of them reacts angrily, Bharat sees Goring's point and helps keep everyone away. They continue downwards, asking people to leave the food untouched. On one of the levels, they meet Brahmbang, an old wise man Bharat respects. Brahmbang approves of their mission, but points out that the administration won't care if they succeed. Perhaps the workers on level 0 will. He suggests they send a symbol, and they choose the panna cotta, a luxurious dish, to send back up untouched. They guard the panna cotta carefully and start rationing food at level 51, with grateful responses from the prisoners. On level 96, they find a sick old man and a mentally disabled boy. Goring tries to feed the old man, but the boy dismisses it, saying he won't survive. The next level has only a body, which Goring guesses is where Miharu woke up. The platform doesn't stop because there aren't any living people, indicating more than 250 floors. On the next level, they find two men confronting Miharu. One has a sword and the other is large and strong. Bharat and Goring intervene to help Miharu. Even though badly wounded, Bharat quickly takes down his opponent and helps Goring. Unfortunately, Miharu is already gravely injured. Goring wants to mourn, but Bharat pulls him back on the platform before it descends. They continue downwards, handing out food where they can, but many floors have only deceased people. Eventually, the platform stops at level 333, the apparent last level. At first, they think it's empty, but they find a missing child, Molly, hiding under the bed. When they step off the platform, it starts descending again. Goring asks Bharat to throw the panna cotta into the hole, but Bharat refuses. To their surprise, the room's temperature doesn't change to punish them. After some hesitation, Bharat gives the panna cotta to Molly. They stay on the floor and Goring is haunted by visions of Trimagasi, Imogiri, and now Miharu. Bharat agrees with the ghosts, telling Goring that the girl is the message. Goring wakes up to find Bharat has passed away from his injuries. The next time the platform arrives, Goring takes Molly with him, and they descend to floor 0, which is completely dark and empty. Trimagasi's vision reappears, urging Goring to step off the platform because he isn't part of the message. Understanding his role, Goring steps off the platform, leaving Molly on it. As the platform rises with Molly, Goring hopes her presence will reveal the harsh realities of the pit. Believing in her innocence and potential for change, he sacrifices his chance to ascend, hoping Molly's journey will inspire solidarity and reform at the top. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications for more videos like this. We've got a lot of great content coming your way. Take care and see you again.